Hey guys, it's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs, and the project for today is how to build a massive shelf like the one behind me. This shelf is 8 foot tall, 8 foot wide, and 2 foot deep. And the catch here is I did this full project under $100, and I also did not use my own saw. So I had all the pieces ready to go when I got back from Home Depot, and all I had to do was screw everything together. If that's a project you're looking to do, stay tuned and I'll go through all the details. So we arrived at the home improvement store, and if you're comfortable with selecting your lumber, you can go ahead and jump to the 4-minute mark where we'll start the build. You're looking for straight boards without any bark, without any knots, without any splits. And the better you do selecting your lumber, the easier it's going to be when you get back and start to build your project. Everything will just go together a lot better. So once we get our 2x4 selected, we're going to jump over and grab 2 sheets of the OSB 1/2-inch plywood. And then we got all of the 2x4s and the OSB, and now we're ready to leverage the saw, the radial arm saw, which the nice thing here is this is industrial grade. They're able to stack 4 2x4s all at once. They put a stop in place, and then that stop is going to be at the distance for which you've requested your 2x4s cut. So they can cut through these at literally about 5 times the rate that I could do with a chop saw at home, and I don't have any of the mess. Then they have the specific saw that can cut or rip your OSB. So both of those sheets are just going to get cut or ripped down to 2-foot sections. And then here's everything and the results of all the different 2x4s being cut to the 20-inch lengths and the 21-inch lengths and the plywood. So for the complete list of this build, go ahead and look down in the description and it'll line everything out. All right, so I got everything back to the house and about ready to jump in. Overall, having them do all the cuts. So I do have a chop saw. I can do most of these cuts, pretty much all the cuts at home. I have a truck. I can bring the full sheets of plywood, but really trying to think through the normal homeowner, mid-size SUV, even a full-size car with like a 40-60 split rear seat. And the way that we approach this, where you have the sheets of plywood that are 2 foot by 8 foot long, you have your 2x4s, and then you have all your cut components for the shelves and then also the uprights. You can kind of fit it in any of those, mid-size SUV, full-size SUVs easily, or a car. So you don't need a truck. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or your local home improvement store. You can have a plan of attack, have all your cuts laid out, and then have them do that. One caution I would say to you is have them cut, let's say, one of your 2x4s and then measure that to make sure it's the length you want. It's going to be very common that they're going to go ahead and knock through all those cuts and they didn't take the blade width into consideration, or they're just slightly off. So that could cause you issues when you get back home. So go ahead, get that first piece, make sure it's to your lengths. Mine were 20 inches and 21 inches for the 2x4s. So when you get home, everything goes together smoothly. So first up, we'll jump in and start to build out the shelves. So for the whole project, I used 2 3/4 general construction screws, and those will be with a star bit, and that's a T25 size. Before really getting into the shelves, I did batch a lot of the small repetitive tasks. For instance, like this, drilling the 2 holes in each of the ends of the 8 2x4s. That's 2 of the 8-foot section 2x4s for all 4 of the shelves. Also, I had taken the screws and screwed them in about 1 inch into the outside boards, all the way along the line to give myself just a head start when I was putting the cross members in. You notice on the corners I was using an Irwin clamp, and that clamp has a special corner adapter on it, so you can fit your pieces of 2x4 together. You can make sure they're flush at the top, and then you can secure them with this clamp it's super handy. I actually bought this for the project, and like all the other things, this will be in the description if you want to reference on exactly what I used. One bonus part of this, it has the hole in the side, so you can easily put your screws in place while the clamp is on and secure. Okay, so the ends are all together, and now we have the 3 middle cross sections. I had marked out 24 inches, 48 inches, and 72 inches. I marked those out on the 3.5 inch side of the 2x4s and also on the 1.5 inch top and bottom. So it's easy for me to align those cross members up, get them in the correct spacing. I did all 3 of the cross members on one side, and then I flipped over and secured in the rest of the 3 cross members. Take your time, make sure the top and bottom are at the same measurement, so you're not kind of cockeyed in there. The more you take your time here, the better everything will turn out as you start to put together the shelves in the next step. So build out all 4 of these shelves so they'll be ready to go, and then we'll move on to securing the 20-inch piece of 2x4 to each of the 6 legs. Once you get this completed, then you'll be ready to kind of stand everything up and start to have the shelf take shape. So I got my first shelf and then the 6 different legs, and I'm going to position the 4 outside legs first. And the way I'll do that without securing them immediately is I'll just use those 4 Irwin clamps that I have, and then this will make sure everything's tight, and then I can go back through and take a little bit more time lining everything up and then sinking 1 screw per leg and then per shelf. So you can use a level and make sure everything is perpendicular to the shelf, but you do have a little forgiveness on this first one because you're only using 1 screw per leg. So with the second shelf, that's when you really want to take your time, use that level, and get it as close as possible to perpendicular to the shelves. So then when you get to the last shelf, you don't have a gap that's starting to form in any one of your 6 legs. So we'll get all 6 of them in position here. And then once we have them secure, I grab a piece of plywood that's 2 foot wide and then put that in place. So now we'll do the same 3 set of steps to fill out the rest of our shelves. We'll take the 20-inch 2x4s and we'll secure them with 2 screws to each of the legs. And then this is going to give us our next structure to set the shelf on top of. Just make sure everything is lined up and then the sides are flush as you sink both of those screws in. Then once you get all 6 of them in place, you'll grab your shelf and then get in the center and lift it up, positioning the one side on top of the supports. And then hopefully if everything's measured correctly and lined up, it will be easy to just set right into place. Make sure both of your sides are flush, and especially with the second, this is the 3rd shelf, but with the 2nd shelf, you're going to take your time lining up your legs as well. Then just take your plywood, bring it in, and I just let my plywood sit on top. I did not secure the plywood with any additional screws. And then for the middle steps, I just placed those 20-inch supports right on top of the plywood, and then the supports are what are actually secured to each of the legs. Okay, and now I got the top shelf on with the OSB, and the shelf is in place. Let's recap a few of the different parts of the design. So you got your 20-inch supports, 20-inch 2x4 that then has 2 screws in the outside leg, and then that's going to really hold all the weight on that top shelf. The shelf is attached with 1 screw to the outside leg, but really that's just to help line everything up. all the structure and all the load will be carried by these 20-inch members. Your 21-inch cross members, which you'll have 3 of those on each of your shelf. And then I did 2 screws on each of those. One thing to take time is especially on shelf number 2. So you're going to attach those legs like I had shown you, and then you really need to use your level in both directions before you put that middle screw in. You want to make sure you're totally level in both directions. If you do not do this, you'll really start to lean out or fore and aft when you get to your top shelf. Obviously the distance there will magnify any small angle that you're off lower. It's just going to get worse and worse as you go up. But very satisfied, good project, and ready to start stacking some stuff. All right, we'll call it a day. The shelf is in place and fully built out. And all in, I was looking at about 4 hours, and that does include going to Home Depot and getting the materials, getting them back, and then starting to build everything out from there. The shelf is extremely sturdy and serves our purposes perfectly for just stacking totes and getting a little bit more organized around the house. If you think this is going to help you out for your project, go ahead and look down in the description below and you'll see all the links to the tools and also a full build list that we used. Hopefully this video helped you out, and if you like these sort of videos, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Again, my name's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs, and good luck on your projects. Take care.